Hello, everyone. Um, Today, I want to talk about something deeply personal yet profoundly empowering: privacy. Not secrecy, not hiding, but the kind of privacy that protects our hearts, preserves our power, and fosters healthier connections. It's about honoring yourself enough to decide what parts of your life are sacred. Even in the most intimate relationships, every one of us is a living, breathing story. From the moment we take our first breath, life begins writing its chapters in us, some beautiful, some painful, and some so private they feel etched on our very souls. These stories are not just events that happen, they're the moments that shaped who we are. They hold our fears, our resilience, and the quiet strength that no one can see just by looking at us. But here's the thing, not everyone deserves access to those stories. Sharing your story, especially the deepest, most personal parts, is an act of trust, not a requirement. It's not about hiding anything, it's about discerning who has earned the right to hear it. Not all listeners are caretakers of our vulnerabilities. I think of your stories as jewels in a treasure chest. When you meet someone, you don't throw open the lid and let them take everything. You start with one piece, maybe something light and unassuming. As they show they can hold it with care, you give a little more. And maybe, just maybe, over time you open the chest fully, but you get to decide. Here's why this matters. When we share every detail of our past too soon, especially the painful or intimate parts, we risk feeling exposed. Vulnerability without trust is like walking into a storm without a coat. It leaves us open to being misunderstood, judged, or worse, having our stories used against us. Your past relationships, childhood struggles, or moments of regret are yours to own. Sharing them isn't about seeking validation or approval. It's about connection, but only with people who have proven they can hold your story with compassion, without trying to fix you or judge you for the scars you've earned along the way. There's also another side to this healing. Some stories are still raw, unfinished. They need time to settle in your heart before they're ready to be told. Sharing them prematurely can make you feel as though you're giving away a part of yourself that hasn't fully formed yet. And when you do that, you risk losing control over how that story is perceived, not just by others, but by you. I want to be clear, keeping your stories private isn't about building walls or creating distance. It's about protecting the essence of who you are. When you guard your story, you create space for your own growth. You give yourself the freedom to process, to heal, and to decide how that story fits into your present life. So here's the takeaway: your stories belong to you. They don't define you, but they do shape you. And the decision to share them or not is yours alone. When you choose to open up, do it because you feel safe, valued, and seen. Share with people who will cherish your stories, not exploit them. And remember, some parts of you are sacred, meant to be held close for your heart and your heart alone. Honor your story because it's the foundation of your strength, and trust yourself to know when and with whom to share it. After all, no one else can tell your story quite like you can. Financial independence is not just about money, it's about autonomy, security, and the power to make choices that reflect your values and needs. It's an act of self-respect, something that is often overlooked in relationships but should never be underestimated. Your financial well-being is a reflection of how you value yourself and your future. And while relationships should be built on trust, support, and shared goals, your financial independence is a part of who you are, and it deserves to be preserved. When we talk about financial independence, we're not just referring to having enough money to pay bills or buy things. It's about the sense of freedom that comes with knowing you can stand on your own 2 feet, whether in times of joy or hardship. It's the confidence that comes with the knowledge that you can make decisions, big or small, without feeling beholden to anyone. For women, financial independence can be especially empowering. Historically, we've been conditioned to depend on others, be it family, a partner, or society, to take care of our financial needs. But today we live in a world where women have more opportunities than ever to create and manage their own wealth. The ability to make decisions about our careers, savings, and investments is a key part of owning our lives and our futures. And yet, despite this newfound independence, there is still pressure to merge financial lives and relationships quickly, to share all aspects of your income, savings, or debts. But here's the thing, financial transparency is important. But it doesn't mean you need to give up your financial autonomy to make someone else feel comfortable. When we're building relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, it's perfectly reasonable to keep your financial goals and resources to yourself, especially in the early stages or when you're still figuring things out. Having a separate account, savings, or investments doesn't equate to distrust or secrecy. It's simply about maintaining the control and independence that come from having your own financial resources. It's about keeping that one part of your life under your own authority so that you can make decisions based on your needs, not someone else's. Think of it this way, financial independence is the foundation of your personal power. When you're financially secure, you don't feel the need to stay in a situation that's no longer serving you, whether that's a toxic relationship or a job that's draining your spirit. You can make choices that are based on what you truly want for your life, not what you feel pressured into doing. And this doesn't just apply to big decisions. Having financial independence means you don't need permission for the small, everyday choices that matter, whether it's buying something you love, going on a trip, or investing in your personal growth. You get to decide what your money does for you and how it aligns with the life you want to live. Moreover, your financial independence also nurtures your sense of self-worth. It's a reminder that you're capable, resourceful, and resilient. You've earned what you have and you're in control of it. It's not about proving something to others, but about knowing deep down that you have the capacity to support yourself and thrive. But here's the key: independence doesn't mean isolation. In a healthy relationship, there can be a beautiful balance between sharing financial responsibilities and maintaining personal financial autonomy. When both partners respect each other's financial independence, they create a foundation of trust and mutual respect. It's not about keeping secrets or dividing your resources as a form of control. It's about protecting your sense of self and ensuring that you have the power to make choices that serve your long-term goals. So whether you're saving for a big goal, investing in yourself, or simply managing your day-to-day expenses, remember that your financial independence is something to protect. It's a tool for freedom and empowerment. And while it's wonderful to share parts of your life, your finances should always be something you feel confident and secure in managing on your own, at your own pace. In the end, financial independence is not about avoiding interdependence. It's about giving yourself the freedom to create, to grow, and to choose. And that, more than anything, is a priceless form of power. There's something sacred about the space where our thoughts and dreams live, the place where our innermost desires, fears, and aspirations are allowed to grow without external influence or judgment. This space is where our true selves are born, where we process the world around us and figure out who we are and what we truly want. It's easy to believe that sharing our inner world with someone else is a way to deepen connection. But there are times when keeping these parts of ourselves private can be the most empowering choice we can make. Dreams are not always neatly packaged or easy to explain. Some are big, grand ideas of who we want to become or the impact we wish to make in the world. Others are small, simple wishes that are uniquely ours, like the desire to take a quiet walk by the sea, or to learn a skill just for the joy of it. But no matter their size, these dreams belong to us, and we have every right to nurture them without feeling pressure to share them with anyone else, especially when they're in their formative stage. Your inner thoughts, the ones that aren't fully formed or that still carry the weight of uncertainty, deserve to be treated with care. When we share these raw, unrefined pieces of ourselves before we fully understood them, we risk having them misunderstood, trivialized, or dismissed. How often have we shared a fragile idea with someone only to have it met with a quick response or a well-meaning but offhand comment that dims its light? How often have we been told we're overthinking or just being emotional when we simply needed the space to sort through our own feelings? In a world that often values speed and certainty, it can be incredibly difficult to just be with our thoughts without feeling compelled to explain them. but not everything needs to be verbalized or validated by others. Some thoughts are meant to stay in the quiet corners of our minds, where we can hold them tenderly, let them evolve, and watch them grow until they're ready to take shape and be shared. This doesn't mean we should live in isolation or be unwilling to open up to those we love and trust. Vulnerability can be incredibly powerful when shared with the right person in the right way. But there's wisdom in knowing when to hold back, when to protect those raw dreams from the weight of external expectations. Not all of our dreams are meant to be scrutinized or dissected in the early stages. Some dreams need time to breathe, to expand and solidify, so that they're not lost in the noise of well-intentioned advice or well-meaning judgments. Let's talk for a moment about unspoken dreams, the ones that exist quietly in our hearts. These might be the dreams we don't even fully understand ourselves yet. Maybe we've longed for something, but the fear of failure or fear of judgment has kept us from acknowledging it, even to ourselves. Maybe we've always wanted to write a book or start a business, but the thought of sharing that dream feels too vulnerable, too raw, too exposed. These unspoken dreams are precious. They are the seeds of what we are capable of becoming, and they need time, space, and silence to grow before they're shared with the world or with anyone. There's no shame in keeping some things to yourself until they are ready to be shared. And sometimes it's not about waiting for the right time, it's about creating the time. It's about giving yourself permission to have thoughts, wishes, and dreams that are solely yours, free from outside influence. You don't need someone else's approval to want something, and you don't need to justify your desires to anyone. In a world where we're constantly asked to share, to express, to perform, there is deep power in the quiet, sacred act of keeping some things to ourselves. This isn't about hiding, it's about protecting the parts of yourself that are still fragile or evolving. It's about honoring the mystery of who you are becoming. And here's another thing to remember. Just because something is important to you doesn't mean it's the right time to share it. Your inner thoughts, the things that make your heart race with excitement or that cause you sleepless nights, are your unique landscape. They are often uncharted territory that you can wander through at your own pace without rushing to show anyone the map. And the dreams you carry, even the ones that seem impossible or impractical, are yours to nurture until they are ready to be born. These dreams may be just the beginning of a journey that could change your life, and they need the freedom to grow quietly until they are ready to take root in the world. You don't need to explain them to anyone before you're ready. You don't need anyone's permission to dream. So my invitation to you is this: protect your inner world. Give your dreams room to grow without judgment, without the pressure of anyone else's expectations. Trust that the more you honor your own inner voice, the more clearly it will speak to you. And when the time comes to share, do so on your own terms, when you feel strong, grounded, and ready. The world can wait for your story. Vulnerability is often celebrated as the key to deep connection, intimacy, and personal growth. We hear time and again that we must open up, let others in, and share our deepest fears and desires to be truly understood. But what if vulnerability isn't something to be freely offered to everyone at every moment with no regard for how it's received or who we're sharing it with? What if instead vulnerability is a powerful tool that we need to protect with care and intentionality? Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's the ability to show up as our true selves, without masks, without pretenses. But just because vulnerability is a strength doesn't mean it should be handed out indiscriminately. There's a delicate balance between being open and being exposed, between letting others see our scars and allowing them to wound us further. That's why boundaries around vulnerability are essential. They help us navigate the delicate space between opening up and protecting ourselves. Think of vulnerability like a precious gift. If you were to give away something precious, you wouldn't hand it over casually or without consideration. You'd want to ensure that it's going to someone who will treasure it, hold it gently, and respect its value. In the same way, your emotional openness, your raw, unfiltered thoughts and feelings deserve to be given only to those who have earned the right to hold them. Not everyone has the capacity to honor that kind of openness, and that's okay. One of the most important aspects of setting boundaries around vulnerability is understanding that not all people are equipped to handle your vulnerability in a way that fosters healing and connection. It's important to be discerning about who you share your deepest fears, struggles, and hopes with. While it's tempting to want to open up to others in the hope that they'll understand and offer comfort, some people may not have the emotional intelligence or compassion to support you in the way you need. That's why vulnerability should be shared with those who have demonstrated through their words and actions that they can be trusted with your inner world. When we set boundaries around our vulnerability, we are essentially saying, I trust you with this part of me and I need you to treat it with respect. This isn't about shutting others out. It's about honoring your emotional well-being and ensuring that when you choose to be open, you're doing so with someone who will treat your vulnerability with care. Vulnerability also requires a certain level of self-awareness. It's important to recognize when you're in a place where you can safely open up and when it might be better to hold back. There are times in our lives when we are feeling particularly fragile or overwhelmed, and sharing those raw, tender parts of ourselves with others may not be in our best interest. In these moments, setting boundaries around our vulnerability isn't about avoiding connection, it's about protecting ourselves so we can heal and come back stronger. Some of us have learned over time that our vulnerability was met with judgment, rejection, or invalidation. Maybe we shared too much with someone who didn't respect it. Or maybe we were met with indifference when we opened our hearts. This kind of experience can make us more cautious about being vulnerable in the future. And that caution is valid. Vulnerability isn't something to be taken lightly, it's an act of trust. And trust needs to be built over time. If you've been hurt in the past, it's perfectly okay to take a step back, reassess, and decide when and how you want to share yourself with others. At the same time, there's power in vulnerability when it's shared appropriately with the right people at the right time. Vulnerability allows us to experience deep connection, to feel seen and heard in ways that no amount of surface level interaction can replicate. But just as we protect our physical space with boundaries, we must also protect our emotional and mental space. The beauty of vulnerability is that it gives us the freedom to be imperfect. It allows us to show up without the need to perform or pretend. It invites others to see us as we are raw, messy, complicated, and real. But the key to making vulnerability a source of strength rather than weakness is knowing when and how to let others in. It's about understanding that vulnerability is a gift and not everyone is worthy of receiving it at every moment. So, what does it look like to set boundaries around your vulnerability? It means asking yourself, who has earned the right to hear my deepest thoughts and feelings? Am I sharing this because I trust the person with it or because I feel pressured to open up? What do I need from the person I'm being vulnerable with? Am I ready to share this, or is it still something I need to hold for myself until I'm stronger? These questions help you assess the emotional readiness you have for vulnerability and ensure that you're not sharing something that you're not prepared to handle. Your vulnerability, your emotions, and your heart deserve to be treated with care, respect, and compassion. And you have every right to keep parts of yourself private until you find someone who can hold them with the love and understanding they deserve. When you set boundaries around vulnerability, you take control of your emotional landscape, you honor your own needs, and protect your sense of self. And when you do share, you can do so from a place of strength and clarity, knowing that your vulnerability is being met with the respect and empathy it deserves. In the end, your boundaries around vulnerability aren't about keeping people out, they're about inviting people in who will treat your heart with care. It's about choosing when and how you show up based on your needs and your readiness, not on anyone else's expectations. And that choice is yours alone. As we wrap up today, I want you to remember that your boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to deeper understanding, respect, and connection. By setting boundaries around your vulnerability, your financial independence, your inner thoughts and dreams, and the stories that shape you, you are not closing off to the world. Instead, you're creating the space you need to honor and protect the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. When you honor your boundaries, you invite others to do the same. You teach them how to love you, how to respect your power, and how to be part of your life in ways that support your growth, not diminish it. Your vulnerability is a gift, but like all precious things, it should be shared wisely. Your story, your dreams, your emotions, they are yours to share, and you have the right to choose who you share them with and when. So as you move forward, I invite you to reflect on these boundaries, to honor your own needs, and to embrace the quiet power that comes from knowing you are worthy of love, respect, and care on your terms. Trust yourself to protect what is sacred and to share when you feel safe. And remember, the most profound connections come not from oversharing, but from the quiet, intentional moments of true vulnerability that are offered only to those who have earned the right to receive them. Thank you. Thank you.